When you think of a major protest, where does your mind go? A city square? A famous park? A wide boulevard in the heart of a capital? From Cairo's Tahrir Square to the Occupy encampments in New York, it's no accident that public spaces become the stages for political drama. They are the battlegrounds where the abstract ideas of justice and freedom become physical, tangible struggles. Today, we're exploring the deep, complex relationship between protest and the very design of our cities. We'll uncover how the layout of a street can empower a movement, and how a simple park bench can be a tool of political control. This is the urban geography of dissent. Public spaces are inherently political. They're the common ground where people from all walks of life converge. Their visibility and accessibility make them the perfect platform for social movements to broadcast their message. A protest in a city square, right under the nose of government buildings and financial headquarters, has a symbolic power that a protest in a remote field could never match. But it's not just about symbolism. The physical layout of a city is a critical factor. The size of a square can determine how many people can gather. The network of streets around it can be used by protesters for movement, or by authorities to block them in. Think about the Arab Spring. A huge percentage of Cairo's population lived close enough to Tahrir Square to get there quickly. This density enabled the mass mobilization that toppled a regime. The very design of the city became a catalyst for revolution. This struggle for space is rooted in a powerful idea from French sociologist Henri Lefebvre called the right to the city. This isn't just about the right to use the city's parks or subways. It's a much bigger concept, the collective right of everyone who lives in a city to actively shape the urban world around them. Lefebvre saw the city as a constant tug of war. On one side, you have powerful forces, governments and corporations, trying to create a standardized, commercialized city that serves their interests. On the other, you have ordinary people and marginalized groups fighting to reclaim that space and make it their own. From this perspective, a protest isn't just a noisy demonstration, it's a powerful act of claiming your right to the city. It's a demand for a more democratic urban life. This ties directly into the concept of spatial justice. Spatial justice is about the fair distribution of resources, opportunities, and power across a city. When certain neighborhoods are neglected while others thrive, or when public parks are privatized and turned into exclusive shopping areas, that's spatial injustice. Protests that challenge these inequalities are, at their core, a demand for a city that works for everyone, not just a privileged few. Let's look at how this plays out in the real world. Our first stop, Cairo, 2011. Tahrir Square became the revolutionary heart of the Arab Spring. For 18 days, this massive traffic circle was transformed into a self-governing city within a city. It was a space of intense political debate, art, and collective action. By occupying Tahrir Square, protesters directly challenged the authoritarian government of Hosni Mubarak. They reclaimed a space that was usually under tight state control, and because of its central location and the city's density, they created a critical mass of people that the regime simply couldn't ignore. Tahrir showed the world how public space could be a catalyst for revolution. Now, let's jump to New York City, later that same year, with the Occupy Wall Street movement. Their choice of location, Zuccotti Park, was brilliant and revealed a modern urban dilemma. Zuccotti Park is not a normal public park. It's what's known as a POPS, a privately owned public space. These are spaces that developers create in exchange for zoning perks, like being allowed to build a taller skyscraper. They look public, but they are owned and controlled by private corporations. Occupy chose this spot right in the heart of the financial district to physically confront the corporate power they were protesting. Initially, its private ownership created a legal gray area that made it hard for the city to evict them. But eventually, they were cleared out, highlighting a huge problem. Our right to protest is incredibly fragile in these quasi-public spaces, where property rights often trump free speech. Next, we go to Istanbul in 2013. The Gezi Park protests started small. It was a simple sit-in to stop one of the city's last green spaces from being turned into a shopping mall. But a brutal police crackdown turned this small environmental protest into a nationwide uprising against an increasingly authoritarian government. The fight to save Gezi Park became a symbol for a much broader struggle, the right of citizens to have a say in how their city is developed. It was a stand against a model of urban development that prioritizes profit over people, turning shared public spaces into commercial zones. The Gezi Park protests were a powerful declaration that our parks and squares are essential for a democratic city, and they are worth defending. Finally, let's look at the Black Lives Matter movement, which gained global momentum in 2020. This movement used public space in incredibly innovative ways. Marches didn't just stick to sidewalks. They took over major highways and thoroughfares, disrupting the normal flow of the city to demand attention for racial injustice. The movement also powerfully challenged the symbols within our public spaces. Protesters targeted monuments to figures with racist and colonialist pasts, arguing that these statues reinforce a narrative of white supremacy. Toppling these statues was a physical act of reclaiming public history and demanding a public square that reflects the values of all its citizens. And we can't forget the massive Black Lives Matter murals painted on streets, like the one leading to the White House. This was using the urban landscape itself as a giant canvas for protest, a bold, unmissable declaration of humanity and a call for justice. But just as city design can empower protest, it can also be engineered to suppress it. This is nothing new. When Baron Haussmann redesigned Paris in the 19th century, his famous wide, straight boulevards weren't just for beauty and traffic flow. They were explicitly designed to make it harder for citizens to build barricades and easier for troops to march in and crush uprisings. Today, this architecture of control is often more subtle. The rise of those privately owned public spaces we talked about is a key strategy. They come with a long list of rules that often ban political activity, enforced by private security guards. This creates an environment where dissent is quietly but effectively discouraged. Then there's what's known as defensive or hostile architecture. You've probably seen it without realizing what it was. It's the metal spikes on ledges to stop people from sitting, or benches with multiple armrests to prevent anyone from lying down. Sometimes public seating is removed altogether. While these features are often defended as ways to prevent loitering, they make public spaces less comfortable and welcoming for everyone. They are designed to exclude people who don't fit the ideal image of a consumer, and they shrink the possibilities for how we can use our shared spaces, including for protest. Navigating the right to protest is like walking through a legal labyrinth. International law protects freedom of expression and peaceful assembly, but these rights aren't absolute. Governments can restrict them for reasons of national security or public order. The problem is that these restrictions are interpreted very differently around the world, and even from city to city. In many places, you need a permit to hold a demonstration, and the process can be used by authorities to control or deny protests they don't like. Even with a permit, protests are often subject to strict time, place, and manner, rules that can severely limit their impact, dictating where you can go, for how long, and how loud you can be. And then there's the modern layer of control: surveillance. Our cities are filled with CCTV cameras. Now add facial recognition software, social media monitoring, and other digital tracking tools. This transforms public space into an arena of unprecedented surveillance. While this is often sold to us as a tool for public safety, it has a profound, chilling effect on dissent. The knowledge that you're being watched, that your face could be added to a database, can make people afraid to exercise their right to protest. Finally, we have to consider police tactics. How police manage a protest is critical. A de-escalation approach, emphasizing communication and minimal force, can keep a demonstration peaceful. But increasingly, we're seeing a militarization of protest policing. The deployment of riot gear, armored vehicles, tear gas, and rubber bullets has become common. Tactics like kettling, where police encircle and trap protesters, and the preemptive arrest of organizers create an environment of fear. These strategies don't just pose a physical threat, they actively discourage people from taking to the streets in the first place. Of course, the internet has changed the game. Social media is a powerful tool for organizing and mobilizing, allowing activists to bypass traditional media and speak directly to millions. It was essential in coordinating the Arab Spring. But it's a double-edged sword. Those same platforms used for organizing are also used by authorities for surveillance. And the rise of online activism, or clicktivism, raises an important question. Is signing an online petition or sharing a post a substitute for real-world action? While digital campaigns are great for raising awareness, many argue they can't replace the unique power and solidarity that comes from physically gathering together in a public space. There's a tangible sense of collective purpose that simply can't be replicated online. This brings us to one of the most powerful forms of protest: creative resistance. Protest isn't always about shouting slogans. Art and performance have long been used to reclaim public space and challenge power. Think of the guerrilla art of Banksy, or the transformation of the Robert E. Lee statue in Richmond, Virginia during the Black Lives Matter protests. What was once a symbol of the Confederacy was covered in colorful graffiti and became a vibrant backdrop for art, dance, and community gathering. It was a stunning act of creative reclamation. These interventions show that the fight for public space is not just about physical territory, it's a battle over meaning. By filling our squares and streets with art and music, protesters challenge the sterile, controlled environments of the modern city and offer us a glimpse of a more just and vibrant urban future. So, the relationship between a city and its dissenters is a constant dance, a push and pull shaped by architecture, law, technology, and human creativity. As our cities become more privatized and more heavily surveilled, the struggle for the right to a truly public realm is more urgent than ever. But history shows us that the human desire for justice is resilient. From the ancient Greek agora, the birthplace of democracy, to the modern city square, public space has always been the crucible where citizens gather to challenge power and demand a better world. This clash between protest and public space isn't just some niche topic in urban geography. It is the engine of history itself, the force that continues to push us, sometimes kicking and screaming, toward a more equitable future.